The topic of this presentation is the price of partnership, how the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI debt trap, shape ASEAN's future. The BRI is also known as the New Silk Road. It's a global development strategy launched by China, aiming to improve global trade and stimulate economic growth by building infrastructure and strengthening connectivity through two main routes: the Silk Road Economic Belt and the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road. Participation in BRI projects comes with a significant cost, massive investment, and financing. It requires huge sum of investment, building large-scale infrastructure across continents. This is often provided through loans from Chinese banks, creating stronger economic dependency, which raises concerns about falling into a debt trap. In this presentation, I will explore how ASEAN countries, despite benefiting from BRI trade, risk falling into financial and strategic dependence on China, potentially undermining international norms of fairness and equitable cooperation. So why do I focus specifically on ASEAN countries? It is a maritime bridge linking the Pacific and Indian Oceans, with key waterways like the Straits of Malacca and South China Sea. Without ASEAN's port and sea lanes, China's maritime Silk Road would be incomplete. Since 2020, ASEAN has been China's largest trading partner, building key infrastructure such as railway networks. The BRI can be described as the hedging strategy, which is a foreign policy strategy with a mix of competitive and cooperative approaches to managing competing national interests. While ASEAN countries pursue economic gains from increased global connectivity through BRI projects, China pursues its wider goal of strengthening economic interdependence with ASEAN countries to counterbalance the US influence in the Indo-Pacific region. So you might be thinking, who governs BRI? BRI is mainly governed by multiple Chinese state agencies such as the National Development and Reform Commission, NDRC. While the financial support is primarily provided by Chinese state-owned institutions like the China Development Bank. To enhance multilateral oversight, regional frameworks has also been established. Additionally, tripartite technical expert group comprising of Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore have also been formed. But how effective are these regional mechanisms in place exactly? I will examine these questions in the later part of this presentation. What exactly is a debt trap? As ASEAN countries embrace the BRI projects, many soon discover the hidden cost of mounting debt, opaque agreements, and a gradual loss of economic autonomy. When NDRC, the Chinese state agency, proposed to a country to develop BRI projects, it often includes terms and frameworks which prioritizes their own economic and strategic interests. Developing nations in particular might lack the expertise or financial tools to conduct their own cost-benefit analysis according to the information given to them. As a result, these countries risk falling into debt, facing two choices of either seeking loans directly from the international institutions such as the International Monetary Fund, IMF, or take loans directly from Chinese financial institutions. Generally, taking loans from international institutions takes a longer period of time with more complex procedures, while Chinese loans taken from China banks are often dispersed faster, but comes with higher interest rate and often lesser transparency. Hence, countries could risk fall into this debt trap. This debt trap becomes particularly concerning when BRI financing involves the leasing of crucial national assets such as land and port facilities. A prominent example is the Sri Lanka Hambantota Port Project. It's largely regarded as a BRI project linking China to Africa and Europe. Due to the project's high construction costs and ineffective financial management, Sri Lanka had to take loans from China Exim Bank. Consequently, in 2017, Sri Lanka granted a Chinese company a 99-year lease on the port to repay part of its debt. In 2021, it was then announced that the lease could extend for another 99 years. While Sri Lanka is not a member of ASEAN, it is part of South Asia, and this example reflects China's strategic plan of increasing global influence through this debt trap diplomacy. China is the largest debt collector in the world, while its debt accumulation is largely driven by BRI projects. ASEAN in particular is at risk of falling into this debt trap due to many countries experiencing infrastructure budget deficit. This debt trap can be explained from a neorealism perspective. Neorealism emphasizes that the international system is anarchic and power, not international norms or institutions, determines outcome. The debt trap underscores the weakness of international institutions like IMF in intervening and enforcing international norms of fairness, transparency, and mutual benefit. Multilateral lending institutions like IMF might appear neutral, but cannot prevent China Bank from offering loans with favorable terms to its own advantage. In line with neorealist predictions, weaker states are constrained not by formal rules or institutions, but by their relative lack of power. Through the lens of the dependency theory, it emphasizes on global inequality, arguing that global economy is structured like a pyramid, where developed countries control trade, finance, and technology, while developing countries, the periphery, relies on them. In the context of the BRI debt trap, high-interest loans offered by China banks cause money to flow from developing countries to China, a major power. Moreover, the continuous borrowing and repayment leads to the perpetuation of inequality, as it enables China to accumulate assets and strengthen their strategic control. Most importantly, increased economic dependence through loans from Chinese banks ultimately weakens sovereignty, leading to risk of reduced autonomy, making developing countries more vulnerable to political and economic pressure from China. If China can request the lease of a port as part of its debt repayment today, could it eventually demand the debtor to lease out other national assets such as the railway and eventually dominate the entire nation? So dependency theory is not just about economics. It is about power and control. It reminds us that development is not always equal, and what appears help today can quietly become a form of dependence and influence tomorrow. So how can ASEAN countries navigate with China's growing influence through BRI projects and prevent themselves from falling into this debt trap? Firstly, a pool mechanism could be established involving multiple ASEAN nations and international investors for BRI projects. This mechanism will operate similar principle to China's Silk Road Fund, but with a crucial distinction. It will be headquartered and managed by ASEAN nations themselves, ideally under the leadership of a financial hub like Singapore. By leveraging on our reputation of being unaligned to any single major power, we will provide greater transparency with multilateral oversight and clearer loan terms. Secondly, existing agreements like the ASEAN-China Strategic Vision 2030 could be revised to include rules to restrict the leasing of critical national assets to other states, especially to major powers. To me, revising such multilateral agreement is especially important because both major powers recently attempt to strengthen economic ties with ASEAN countries through MOUs. Therefore, establishing common consensus within ASEAN countries is crucial to uphold stability in the region, to promote a multipolar world, preventing any single country to dominate the world. In conclusion, the key challenge in avoiding falling into the debt trap is balancing engagement with China's BRI project, avoiding excessive reliance on Chinese-owned companies for both construction and financing to better safeguard sovereignty, economic security, and regional stability. We need to have a careful approach, neither rejecting cooperation nor ignoring the risk of overdependence. Through pooled regional financing, revised frameworks for better multilateral oversight, ASEAN can benefit from BRI projects while maintaining autonomy, supporting a stable and multipolar regional order.